Hello and welcome to episode 3 of MMM Sisters Stories podcast. Today, Sister Catherine Fallon talks about the joys and challenges as an MMM sister. Thank you for listening and we hope you enjoyed this episode.
Okay, so my name is Catherine Fallon, and I actually came to Drogheda with my late beloved parents at the end of March 66, and I entered on the 1st of April 1966, and I had the privilege of having Mother Mary receive me, give me the black veil and the small grey constitutions at that time. And from 66 until 77, I spent, I suppose you could say, my initial formation, religious formation, as a novice, temporary professed, and then my professional training until 1977. And in 1977, after I had finished my 1-year midwifery in Glasgow with another sister, we were both assigned to our mission station, our first mission appointments. I was being sent to Tanzania, East Africa, and sister was being sent to Nigeria. So I was full of excitement, joy, and a lot of apprehension, wondering, because I had just finished training, I hadn't had a lot of experience, I wasn't sure how I would cope, but I was really excited to be going. So I landed in Dar es Salaam airport with Sister Ruth Percival on September, the end of September. And from there, we went, after a few days, we went to our mission station in Makiyungo in Singida region. So it was quite an adventure, and it was agog about everything. I didn't know the language, and it took me a while to get into the language, but I managed to communicate, and the people were wonderful there. So I was in Makiyungo, then I was in Arusha, then I went to Kabanga, I went from Singida region to the Arusha region, then to Kigoma region, where I spent about 4 or 5 years as assistant matron, then matron, and also working in the maternity. And while I was there, I discovered I had an aptitude for clinical teaching. Now, I wasn't a professional clinical teacher, but I found that I could help the students, so I did a lot of tutorials with them while I was there. And then I was asked to go to Maasai land, which was in the Arusha region. And I loved it there. The people were brilliant. I really enjoyed it. And while I was there, I discovered I had another aptitude which wasn't anything to do with my professional training, but I worked a lot with the youth at their request. They asked me to teach them all about the Mass in Kiswahili, because all they knew was the Kimasai. And so we did a lot of things, and we did a lot of things through drama. So I dramatised the liturgy of the word for them. And so they did. I showed them what to do, and they just interpreted it themselves, and they were absolutely brilliant. So I was really happy with that. After Maasai Land, I then went to Nangwa, that was my last mission before I came home in 2010. And again, there my aptitude was mostly for teaching, supervising, because I was in charge of the project. The outreach programs and the daily outpatients and that kind of thing. Also, while I was there, the late Father Louis, who was a Palatine father, asked me to work with the children and the youth in the parish. He wanted them to have their own Mass. So I did that, and I did that until more or less I left. And I have to say it was just wonderful, that part of it. I also loved... I wasn't really that keen on doing, clinic work. I loved to be in the hospital, and I loved the midwifery part once I got used to being a midwife. But you have to go where the need is greatest, and I really enjoyed my time in Nangwa. We did a lot of things, and I think I can say we had an eclectic variety of services for the people. And they just evolved as each week and month went on. While we did what was meant for the clinic, we did the daily OPD. We had a weekly child welfare clinic, a maternity, an antenatal clinic. We did the outreach programs. As well as that, we did start visiting people in the village. We had a couple of people who were bedridden, one man had very bad bed sores, so we used to go up on a daily basis to change the dressings. We also actually brought him communion, so we were helping the priest, pastorally in the parish. So we did that kind of pastoral care as well. We also had an AIDS programme, which some of the other sisters were engaged in. I wasn't actually fully engaged in that, but we worked together. We got stuff from the government to help, give out various things to help people who were being cared for at home. We also were with them when they died, and most of them, so it was a nice, where it was a very sad and a very excruciating experience, because it was hard to watch people, some of them had a very hard time dying. But it was a privilege, to be honest. It really was, to watch them, to be there with them and to give them comfort, and also the family. But it was working with the children and the kids doing the dramatisation of the liturgy. They were brilliant, because I would give them the readings. And once they got into it, sometimes I would just leave them to themselves. And then we did a pageant for Christmas, my very first Christmas there. It was absolutely brilliant. The kids were wonderful. Like, and I taught them the Magnificat in dance. I couldn't believe it, because it's something it was a more ballet-like thing. And they're not used to that kind of, small movements, but they really did it. It was just wonderful. So that was kind of mostly what I did until 1977, till 2010, when I was, because of kind of health issues, I had to come home. And then while I was at home, I thought I'd be here for maybe a year or something, but then I was asked would I stay. And so I was assigned, I suppose, to the home mission here. So I have been part of the clinic team, which cares for our sisters who have retired, who need a bit of more assisted living. So that's what I'm doing just now. Two of the wonders of the world are being at the birth of a human being, and it's not a romanticised version I'm talking about, it's the reality of it. And also being with people when they die. I got that experience as a student nurse over here. Oftentimes in our own training, we actually specialed people who were dying. And it was only in my later years, a few years after my nursing, I realised the dignity and the beauty of it, or the privilege it was. So for me, that's two of my wonders of the world. There's something about when you think of seeing a baby coming out and screeching their head off. And I remember doing one delivery, and it was a little boy. Well, did he absolutely struggle, because I had to show the students how to suck. I know they don't do it much now, or they don't do it now, but then we had to kind of suck just very gently inside the mouth. So I was showing the students how to do this just as gently, the student midwives. Well, I couldn't believe it. I said, I wish I had a camera. The little baby was like this with the tube. When I said, you don't want to be getting this thing in your mouth. And he didn't really need it, but as I said, I had to show the students. But that actually was just amazing. When I was doing my midwifery in Scotland, we had a couple of people who were non-nationals, and one of them in particular had an extremely difficult delivery. And most of the women themselves in the wards would be telling, like, especially in the antenatal ward, if they were in for whatever reason they were in, the more experienced women, like say the multiparas, those who have had one or more babies, would be telling about their experience. And these young girls who were just coming in for their first baby would be like that. You'd see their eyes getting bigger and bigger, and we'd be trying to say to the women, cool it. So I'd say that they would. I couldn't say that they wouldn't have an idea of maybe the maternal death, because that's what I found the hardest. She was 21 and the husband was 21, and they were both orphans. And what we discovered after her delivery, because she actually had a section, And the baby died. But the delivery was not, the section went like a peach. Absolutely. The doctor said, I wasn't in the theatre, but it went like a peach. So I came on duty the next morning, and the girl was in the postnatal ward. And I came to the news that the baby had died, so they were going to do a post-mortem. But then this emergency came because the girl actually started to bleed. I mean, she was having this hemorrhage, and it turned out that she actually had a blood dyscrasia, and her mother had died in childbirth, but she didn't say anything at the clinic. So we didn't know we just thought we were dealing with a primi-gravid, and she was a big baby, which a beautiful baby boy. The whole day we worked on that girl. People from all, even I gave a unit of blood, and the doctor in charge didn't want me to give it simply because because I was on duty, and also because of my weight and whatever. I said, I want to give it. So I gave the unit of blood. We worked with that girl the whole day. But at 3 o'clock, I had to go and lie down because I was beginning to get this, dizzy. But anyway, when I couldn't sleep and I couldn't rest, I said, I have to go back down. And when I went back into the ward, she had just died. I was so angry with God, so angry. I went outside and I'm going like this up to the thing, because we really had prayed that everything would help her. But it didn't. But then it came out that she had this problem. So we would never, no matter what we did, it was on the cards. But I'll never forget that was one instance. Most of the instances we had, it was native medicine that they would take to expedite their pains, and that they might not have to go to hospital. So there was a lot, yeah. That was the kind of things we tried to do. So we were all the time, especially in some of the areas in Tanzania, pushing, please do not use the net. We even wrote to I remember in Kabanga, we actually wrote to the university in Dar es Salaam, to because they were studying, the different fauna and flora and fauna in the country. And we asked them, was there any antidote to some of the native medicines? And, well, we never actually got a reply. But, and some of the natives couldn't tell us. There wasn't really any antidote. Most of the ones that we sought did not help the women. It shut down everything, all their organs, especially the kidneys and everything. By the time I got to Tanzania in 1977, I realised that I was only building on what went before. Our sisters who had done the spade work, so to speak. So people were coming to the hospital for delivery, and people were beginning to see the efficacy and the help I actually gave, that they could get a safe delivery from the time they were pregnant and that was our whole thing. Even in Nangwa, going out even to the outstations, we would bring people in from the outstations to the hospital to deliver safely. For me, it was in my professional training that I got here, and also in Scotland, and also the mentoring I received by my sisters, the sister doctors, the other sisters who were there, and also the staff, the African staff, who especially were very good at midwifery and who had a lot of experience. So all of that, to me, that was most important, that I actually gained knowledge to be a better nurse, a better midwife, and to know how to use my skills in that setting for the people that came to my help. And I did everything I could, and even in the training of the staff, both in all the places we were in. Because I used to say to the students, especially when I was in Kabanga, as I said, I wasn't a professional tutor, but I used to help the tutors in the school by doing the clinical work. So I would take the girls for tutorials. So we would go over deliveries, the normal delivery, and also on the wards, if we had somebody, say, like with an APH, which is bleeding before, pregnancy at a certain time in their pregnancy, to recognise the symptoms. Because before the 28th week, it would be an APH, but it wouldn't be, it would be something like a threatened miscarriage, that kind of thing. But after that, they have to think of there's the placenta's coming first, and that is dangerous. So to recognise danger signs in pregnancy, and to take pride in the fact that they could help this woman to live. She didn't have to die. You know, they were being trained to recognise early on these signs and symptoms and to direct the person to safe delivery. Most of the women got it, but there were some, again, I suppose they followed tradition and they found it difficult. And we did have a few cases like that. But for me, I think it was seeing people when they come to the hospital with a particular problem and leaving the hospital cured, to see them getting better, you know, and to see a woman coming in childbirth, or not, well, even in childbirth with malaria, and that we were able to treat the baby. She delivered normally. She went home, you know, with a baby, and she was well and the baby was well, that kind of thing. I saw miracles there all the time. I really did. And I want to mention, if it's okay to mention, two particular instances. And one was, we had a most wonderful doctor, ophthalmologist, Dr. Merlin Scudder. She's died. She's dead already. But she would come to different mission places, and she would come to us and do cataract operations. Now, people couldn't see for years. They thought they were blind. So she would come and do all these cataract operations. Now, she would leave after 3 days. And at that time, it wasn't like now you did it on the thing, and then the thing, it was a week. They had the things on for a week. When we would take them off on the 5th day, really, not the 7th, but the 5th day, all they said, "Where is the doctor? I can see." I said, it's just like in the Bible, where when Christ, heals the blind man, and he says, "I can see." I mean, these people could see everything that they couldn't see before, that kind of thing. And then there was, just very briefly, there was another kid, a 9-year-old, and this entails pastoral care as well as the thing. So we were doing the pastoral, to me, we were doing the pastoral and the evangelization as well as the professional. It was like this, I think, anyway, for myself. We had a young priest in our parish in Nangwa who went to a mission outstation to say Mass. And while he was there, the people asked him to baptise this little girl, a 9-year-old, who they said is dying. She had a very bad osteomyelitis of her left leg. Her leg was like this. She had a big hole here and here. So he said, "Did you not take her to the sisters?" "Oh no, we don't have the money for it. We couldn't do that because we couldn't pay." He says, "But if you went to the sisters, they would have helped you." Anyway, he came back and he came straight to the house and he spoke to myself and Proti and Sister, the Lord of Mercy, and Sister Vincent, Sarawat, and we said, "Okay, bring her in. Can you bring her the next day?" So he brought her the next day. We treated the leg. We said, "She needs to go to the hospital and we'll take her to the Reda." So they went back home. She stayed in the village. Somebody gave her a bed for the night. We took her the next day to the Reda hospital. And when we got there, who was there but the flying doctor service and the orthopaedic surgeons? And this little girl was a Byrabeg. Had she lost her leg, her family would have abandoned her. It's the custom. It's what they do. But anyway, she didn't lose the leg. And she was in the hospital for months. Now, she's a beautiful young woman trained as a nursery nurse. And that was, and Moira Breheny helped her to do, we paid for her primary schooling as well as treatment in another place just outside Arusha. And Moira then took up, and she, luckily for the little girl, Esther, she got further training, schooling, secondary, and then went on for further training, that kind of thing. So that to me is, that makes me very happy. We had about 6 that I was taking with 3 kids who had spina bifida. Nothing was being done. And we had one child from birth. She had bilateral talipes and a huge spina bifida here. It was closed, but she came from a most destitute family. I don't know how they lived, and the woman had about 10 children. Survived until she was 9. Because in the end, I suppose the last 4 years of her life, the government brought out a programme for helping kids with spina bifida, and they taught the parents to catheterise the children, so that because they wouldn't have any control of their bladder. And they wouldn't have pants or things. And I used to get some money from home, and and even stuff that I would get for myself, I would bring it back, and I would buy, the Pampers to give to them, so that she wouldn't be able to sit in wet clothes and things. So that kind of reduced the fact that she was getting bed sores on both her buttocks. I wasn't there when she died, but she died. I'm not surprised that she died, because she wasn't a very healthy kid, and her circumstances didn't lend to a very full life for her because of her problems and her health issues. But she was very happy because we were able to buy a wheelchair for her from this place. Again, that was through the people in Scotland and other places giving us money. And Proti told me that she had died, but she sent me a photograph of her with the mum. And the kid was laughing because she had this wheelchair now and she could get around the village and everything. So that to me was, I thought that was the kind of things we did, and we were able to do it. Again, it's because of people helping us to do our job. So I said, if you have it and you have the ability to help them and there's a system in place, then we had to use it. We had quite a few. I don't know if the sisters still have those kids, but some of the ones I had left. For the present, I would say, for me, the big thing is their safety, especially given the unrest and that's what I would worry me about our sisters now in the missions. At that time when I was there, I felt very safe in Africa. I never felt unsafe. But now, for my sisters, when I hear them talking, our young sisters coming, also the possibility of burnout simply because of the lack of personnel, even, local personnel, and even ourselves, because you're trying to do so much and you see so much to be done. The other thing is too the financial constraints. I'm not big on these things, and I'm not, a financier, but it was all, even in Nangwa, it was always a strain. It was one of the biggest strains I found was the financial constraints we had. For various reasons, because a lot of the people couldn't pay us for their service. They really couldn't, and we couldn't not treat them. And none of our places refused treatment to people, So that's why we depend on other people giving us the money. You know what I mean? Well, to be honest, I'd love to see us all living in peace and accepting people who they are, and for what they do, no matter what they believe in or. And that's what I found with us. We were able to accept people as they are. Come as you are, that's how I want you. Be themselves. And I would like to see peace, and we can bring that peace by treating people, whoever it is, come to us, no matter how they come to us, or for what reason they come to us. And also, when I just want to say this, because for me, when I listen to our young African sisters and the other sisters in the different missions and telling us about what they're doing now and how they're building on what we left, I'm absolutely awed by their dedication, their fearlessness, and their passion for doing what Mother Mary wanted us to go to where the need is greatest. That for me is what I would like to see, and I'd like to think that we would have, and I would have the courage not to be in a comfort zone, and if I had to move out of my comfort zone, that I would do it with a full heart when I see our young sisters doing this, and especially, and also the climate change that's happening. I mean, actually happening. Like recently in Nangwa, just outside Nangwa, that village that was nearly swept away, or more or less swept away by the landslide.
Thank you for listening to MMM Sister Stories. Stay tuned for episode 4.